In this WrestleTalk news, more WWE releases and the reasons why, my review of SmackDown and Tempest review of Rampage. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
Last night, it was reported that WWE had come to terms on the releases of 10 more of its roster. Malcolm Bivens, Dexter Lumis, Dakota Kai, Raylan Divine, Mila Milani, Draco Anthony, Sanjana George, Persia Pirotta, Haaland, and Paige Prinzivali. Some of these names are quite surprising given WWE's new direction, including the not long debuted Diamond Mine manager Malcolm Bivens, now going back to his old name of Stokely Hathaway, Dakota Kai, who'd been a mainstay on NXT for several years and had had several dark matches on the main roster, and Dexter Lumis, who was part of one of the more popular acts in NXT in the last few years. However, these were some of the people in the old NXT, left over from a time before the 2.0 rebrand. But perhaps more surprisingly, in my eyes at least, were releases such as Draco Anthony, who showed good promise in his 2.0 matches, Haaland, the former Parker Boudreaux, who was hyped upon his signing and seemingly had a talent backstage that many were excited by, and Persia Pirotta, who'd been getting good screen time and had occasionally shown flashes of great wrestling in the ring as well. Of course, the natural response for WWE releases these days is to assume the classic John Laurinaitis budget cuts were the reason for them, and you would be correct in most cases for this batch of releases according to Fightful Select, as that's exactly what was emailed out to the talent. However, there were a few releases with a bit more context. In that same Fightful Select report, Malcolm Bivens had made it abundantly clear that he wasn't going to re-sign his contract when it expired. He'd also reportedly told them that last year, but was re-signed after the Diamond Mine was pitched to him as a creative idea. Bivens was reportedly given a new contract to sign in February, but did not sign it, despite there also reportedly being a significant push within WWE Digital to feature Bivens more. There was also news regarding Dakota Kai, who was reportedly said to have seen the release coming and had also indicated to WWE that she would not be re-signing her contract. As previously mentioned, she'd had several dark matches on the main roster, but reportedly had no idea whether she was going to be used or not when it came time for the draft. In the interesting case of Haaland, or Parker Boudreaux, WWE officials and coaches reportedly felt like he'd not progressed in the ring quite enough for their liking, which was seemingly another factor surrounding his release. And with all these releases, some from people who were featured on NXT quite regularly, in some cases pretty much every week, it's going to cause creative headaches in order to get the show back on course. And there was one NXT official who reportedly reached out to Fightful to express their frustration that several angles, acts, and stories were affected with little to no notice or preparation. But in a more positive note regarding these releases, Fightful reportedly spoke to several of these release stars who seemed to be in good spirits, all things considered. Well, that was a bit sad, and there's no easy way to transition into this next bit, so maybe if I just rip off the band-aid it'll be easier? Hot tag to Ollie?
Before we get on with the rest of the episode, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Bosley, America's #1 hair restoration experts, and how you can get a fuller, thicker head of hair like mine, and a $250 gift card by going to bosley.com/WrestleTalk or by clicking the link below. Elon Musk, Summerfest's Jeremy Piven, me. I know what you're thinking. What incredibly natural hairlines. I'm here to let you on a little secret. I've had a hair transplant. And MJF agrees it's one of the best things I've ever done. Of course, mine was done in the UK, but if I was in America, I would have contacted Bosley, who offer the latest in hair restoration technology, offering both surgical and non-surgical solutions. Before I got mine done, I spent about 18 months researching what to do. With Bosley, you can get a free information kit right now, with everything you want to know about hair loss and hair restoration, and then you can follow that up with a free in-person or video consultation. So book one in now to find out how you can get a fuller, thicker head of hair by going to bosley.com/WrestleTalk or click the link below to get your free information kit and a $250 gift card. That's bosley.com/WrestleTalk, where you'll also get a free cost estimate and to find the right solution for you. The sooner you take action, the more options you have. Hair that hair.
And now it's time for my review of SmackDown in about 5 minutes. The show started with Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn in a steel cage match after Sami Zayn had been running away from matches for 3 weeks in a row. They entered a match where you can win by running away. Amazing work. I thought this was a decent opener. It lacked a little bit of substance, with the most common spot being throw opponent into cage wall, but was decently fun, and Drew McIntyre won with a Claymore decisively. Charlotte Flair said she's going to win in her match later. riveting stuff. And then there was a Happy Talk segment. Happy Corbin said he wanted to destroy the Andrew the Giant Memorial Trophy that he stole last week and brought it out to the ring with the help of two guys who were masked and had caps on, so immediately you could guess that one of them was Madcap Moss. Whoa, one of them was Madcap Moss? Crazy that. Moss attacked Corbin and got his trophy back, and then rolled around in the ring laughing like the obnoxious heel that he definitely is. I'm not into this story or these characters at all. Ricochet faced Shanky for the Intercontinental title belt next, after a recap of the match being made. This was a fairly boring match, mainly because Shanky's moveset is incredibly basic, and Ricochet just got the win with a roll-up after some failed Jinder interference. Jinterference. But afterwards, intrigue, as Jinder was upset with Shanky and then Shanky walked out on him. I'm sure everyone really cares. Raquel Rodriguez had her main roster debut match next against Kat Cardoza, where she was definitely positioned as the babyface with Kat attacking her before the bell, but also in her pre-match promo she said lines such as, "When you look this good," referring to herself, and "I like being the center of attention." What, a babyface? She won fairly convincingly. Also, I'm just going to put this image here for no particular reason, I just think it's really funny. Walter and Ludwig Kaiser cut a promo saying they're gonna win or whatever, and we got the contract signing for RK Bro versus the Usos. And you know what, for all the negatives that happen on this show, I'm at least enjoying this story because of the tag title unification, because it is legitimately intriguing. They continued the subtle story of Jay being better than Jimmy when Randy recognized Jay as the right-hand man, but just called Jimmy a little bitch. This caused a brawl with all four of them, which brought out Roman Reigns, who tore up the contract before it was signed, which in turn brought out Drew McIntyre to make the save with the babyfaces standing tall. Backstage afterwards, Paul Heyman approaches Adam Pearce and says that he should upgrade the title unification match at WrestleMania Backlash to a 6-man tag match of RK Bro and Drew McIntyre versus the Bloodline. And after Pearce objects, Heyman says he'll report him to the board of directors for not putting on a Roman Reigns match at Backlash, and then walks off. Later in the show, it's made official that it's going to be a 6-man tag match with the tag titles no longer being unified. Now hold on. I just need a minute. I need to really unpack this, so just give me a second. So here's the thing that I just don't understand. Roman Reigns was the one who wanted the title unification match, but now he just wants a 6-man tag. Why? Why is it that Paul Heyman can go to Adam Pearce backstage, threaten him, say he's going to go to the board of directors because Adam Pearce won't put a Roman Reigns match at WrestleMania Backlash, when the bigger match is the title unification match? It's the one that has the more titles on the line, the one that's more interesting. The 6-man tag is like a good SmackDown match. This story doesn't make any sense. And why is it that WWE can promote matches that haven't been made official? Like, they had match graphics and they were promoting at WrestleMania Backlash, it will be the Usos versus RK Bro, and yet they still needed to sign a contract for some reason. But because that contract wasn't signed, that match is now not official. And now it's a 6-man tag. Who actually is in control of SmackDown? Because Adam Pearce has the power to make matches, and yet sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he can put people in matches on the spot, and other times he has to run it by the higher authorities. And Paul Heyman can go to the board of directors to threaten Adam Pearce. Why do they have a say in it? These are just some of the thoughts I think about when I think about SmackDown. Because at the end of the day, it's a bit shit, isn't it? Naomi faced Shayna Baszler, one with a very weak looking roll up, and then Shayna and Natalya beat up Naomi and Sasha Banks, and it'll be Shayna versus Banks next week. Cool. WWE made me hate their product just a little bit more, with them talking about Butch and where he could possibly be. And Sheamus and Ridge's promo also didn't help matters, though I'll be honest and say I don't really know what they said because I'd glazed over at this point. Woods faced Holland and won with the backwoods, again, and then Sheamus faced Kofi Kingston immediately afterwards and won with a bro kick, and then the heels put Woods through a table. I am so bored of this feud. Lacey Evans did another chapter of her life story next, and while these promos are each as good as the next, they are starting to feel overplayed and overdone, and she should return to the ring sooner rather than later before this becomes white noise. Ronda Rousey beat Shotzi in 1 minute and 41 seconds in the Beat the Clock I Quit challenge, and Charlotte then looked like a numpty because she couldn't beat Aaliyah in that time because she took her time and was busy taking it slowly. Charlotte then beat up special guest timekeeper Drew Gulak, and that was the end of the show. What a main event and what a show. This was pretty poor. The in-ring wrestling at best was decent and at worst was a bit boring. The best story going right now was abandoned and replaced with a 6-man tag, and everything else is so bland and uninteresting right now. This show gets a 2 out of 5, and even I think that is generous. Me and Tempest will talk about this show later on the WrestleTalk podcast channel as well as Rampage, so go subscribe for that. And now here's Tempest with his review of Rampage.
Well, Hookhausen confirmed. Tumblr, do your thing. What's going on, WrestleTalk friends and fans? Tempest is back with another review of AEW Rampage in about 3 minutes. So this week's Rampage opened up with the Owen Hart qualifier match, that pitting old rival Swerve Strickland against Darby Allin. Personally, I thought these two had a very enjoyable match. Swerve is one of my absolute favorite guys in all of wrestling right now. Swerve did a really cool roll over the top rope that I've never really seen before, only to be hit with Darby Allin's over the shoulder stunner. The people were really behind Swerve too. This is a guy who could go a long way in AEW with very little effort being put in. He's just that charismatic. Ricky Starks then left the commentary table to try and interfere, and although Sting was able to keep him from getting directly involved, it was able to distract Swerve long enough for Darby to lock in the Last Supper and get the sneak win. Darby and Swerve had an interview segment later in the show where they said that things are cool, but this definitely once again felt like the appetizer match, and there's definitely something to come back to with these two down the line. That being said, this was a very fun opening match that could have gone a lot further with a better finish, but that better finish is being saved. This gets a 4 out of 5 in the meantime. We then got a 6-woman tag team match as the baddies, Jade Cargill, Red Velvet, and Kiera Hogan, took on Trisha Dora, Willow Nightingale, and Sky Blue. Personally, I love seeing these 6-woman tag team matches, 6-person tag matches, 8-person tag team matches. Load as many people onto these shows as possible because these matches are almost always fun. That being said, this match wasn't exactly designed to give everybody a chance to shine. Like, I don't think Trisha Dora even hit a single move. Did she? This match was designed to get the baddies over, and I thought it did a really good job of accomplishing that. Red Velvet is showing off a much more aggressive side to her, which we definitely saw with her in the front row last week. I am a big fan of all 6 women involved in this match, and I would really like to see the 6 women on the opposite side get their chance, but of course that is going to have to wait as there's only so much TV time to go around right now. In the meantime, they did a fantastic job of putting over the baddies, and I thought this was a really fun little squash match. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 because it didn't get that much time, but this was thoroughly enjoyable. It looks like Tony watched my video on why AEW needs more factions. That or he's just an actual good booker and I'm just a guy on YouTube. That's totally possible. We then had our next match as Keith Lee took on Colton Gunn. The Ass Boys really don't do anything for me. Like, they're fine, perfectly adequate wrestlers, but they never bring anything extra to the table to make me excited for their matches. But they had a fun closing sequence as Colton Gunn went for the Fame Asser, only for Keith Lee to go for the Spirit Bomb and eventually hit the Big Bang Catastrophe for the win. I thought the match did a fine enough job of accomplishing its goal of just getting Keith Lee another win on television, but I don't think it did much more than that. Therefore, I think it's getting a 3 out of 5 because it didn't do much more than that. Some matches are designed to steal the show, some aren't. This was definitely the latter, and that's okay. We had the long-awaited face-to-face confrontation between Danhausen and Hook. Danhausen, of course, comes out and does his Danhausen things before asking for them to send Hook, as Hook makes his way down to the ring and says into the microphone, using his mouth to produce words, "We're gonna do this right now." It remains to be seen how I feel about Hook being a talking character on this show, but he's been doing okay so far. Hasn't ruined the aura. However, just as Danhausen and Hook were about to go at it, they were interrupted by Smart Mark Sterling, who asked the crowd if they actually wanted to see these two fight, and to my slight surprise, the crowd are really into this program. It seems like most people online have kind of been wishy-washy about the Hook Danhausen thing, but it's over with the live crowd. Granted, the AEW live crowd is very much representing the hardcore wrestling audience, so they are going to be much more into Danhausen than your average person. But at the same time, this thing is working for some people. Tony Nese then jumped Hook and Danhausen, but Hook was able to make a quick recovery, hitting big suplexes on Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling. As Danhausen went for a handshake, Hook was not impressed. It still seems like they are going to fight at some point in the near future. Or they could be friends in the near future, I don't know. I am not advocating for Hook and Danhausen to be a team. but there is a small part of my brain that desperately wants to see it. Hook's still the man. This segment was fun, even if a little bit awkward. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 just because I love Hook. And then we got the main event for the ROH TV Championship as Samoa Joe defended the title against Trent Beretta. For like the last 7 years, I've always wondered what to call Trent Beretta. Sometimes he's called Trent, sometimes it's Trent with a question mark, sometimes it's Beretta, sometimes it's Trent Beretta. I don't know what to call you, dude. Half the NXT roster's got a new name. I can't handle it from AEW people. And this match, unsurprisingly, was also great. Trent Beretta is one of the more underrated wrestlers on the AEW roster. Doesn't usually get as much of a chance to show how good he is in the ring, but every once in a while he gets a big singles match like this to show just how good he is. But ultimately, Samoa Joe went for the muscle buster and Trent was able to slip out, only to be caught in the coquina clutch, which put him to sleep, leading to a Samoa Joe retention. It's still so surreal to me that Samoa Joe is in AEW. He and this whole Jay Lethal thing have kind of felt like an island to themselves for a little bit. Now granted, that is Samoa Joe's first AEW program, but after that, oh, there's a lot of really saucy potential matchups. I'm just really looking forward to Samoa Joe getting to mix it up with the AEW main event scene. That's so exciting to me. But of course, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh came down to the ring afterwards, and the show went off the air with Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal brawling. I thought this was a very effective main event segment. Even though I'm not super jazzed about the Samoa Joe-Jay Lethal rivalry, I thought they did a good enough job building up to their match. Maybe we'll see that at Double or Nothing. I'm not sure. This main event gets a 4 out of 5, and the whole show gets a 4 out of 5 as well. Go out of your way to see it. It's a fun time, especially that opener. I really love Swerve. And that just about wraps it up for me. If you want to hear more about this show and last night's SmackDown, make sure you go over to WrestleTalk podcast later on today, where myself and Chopper Pete will be breaking down both shows in complete detail and probably talking more about the WWE releases that happened because, well, you just can't get enough of that sort of content now, can you?
Which single decisions made by the WWE have had the most significant impact on their creative product for the worse? I can think of 3 that stand head and shoulders above them all. NXT 2.0, taking Monday Night Raw to 3 hours, and the 2001 heel turn of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, you knew that would be the last one in that 3, because that's the title of this video.